All right, guys, it's a little I've been out off the YouTube grid because I've been having a little bit of issues over here and with Pro Tools and MIDI and this, that, the other thing, and I've realized a few things. Good Lord. First of all, make sure you always get your stuff from Sweetwater if you're going to ever need tech support. Anyway, this is my old Studio Logic. I love this piano, 88 weighted controller. Just the most beautiful. It's the best Fatar keyboard I've ever felt. For me, I don't like it super hard. I don't like it mushy. And I have arthritis and trigger finger. I was having problems about 25 years ago in LA. I had a Korg SP100, which was heavy. And needless to say, I went around looking. I was at Guitar Center. They're like, hey, this kind of weird thing. We've never really heard of it. It's in used. And I went in there, and as soon as I sat down, I'm like, oh yeah, that's gangsta. So I've had this for 25 years, and it's served me well. I'm on it all day. I teach on it. We've made a good living on this piano. But a couple of things. Well, one, it's MIDI. So, I was using the little egg, which I thought maybe it's time to move on. And also, like, when you move it, it's like millions of little things are falling. But needless to say, like, I've been having problems. And like yesterday, I was like, it keeps showing up pitch bend and it keeps showing up like modulation and all this stuff, like as if I'm moving these dials, which the dials never used to even work. I get on with Sweetwater. He does that MIDI monitor. He downloads it. He's looking at it. He's like, those things are running like they're constantly spitting some sort of information. They're not working right. It shouldn't be. So it was time. It's time. Now, this is, not sure what it is. It's a Roland FP30X. I went down to Corner Music. This was the best feeling keyboard, 88 weighted keyboard for me down there. Some of them are very heavy, which I know that, like about 5 years ago, I bought one of those Native Instruments, Ultimate Contact Controller, the 88, and I was like, yeah, I'll be all whoop-de-doo and it was heavy, it had a heavy keyboard, and it was nice, but it was heavy. I thought, all right, I'll do it. After 2 days, I woke up the next morning and my hands were like pounding. I knew it was too much, so I went back to the old SL 990 with the old school Fatar keyboard. Anyway, I tried a bunch. There was one that had a nice thing, but it had like a buckskin. Like they were like rough. And he's like, yeah, they wanted it to be like real ivory. I'm like, oh yeah, I just didn't like it. And I tried a bunch, and this was like the best. So, and it's USB out. So now there's no more egg. There's no more conversion. It just goes straight in. And I fired it up, and it was okay. It was very like kind of low volume. I'm like, I bet there's like a control for, whatever the sensitivity. And there is. It's called Key Touch. And I figured, I went on the thing. I look, a function, tick, 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 and all of a sudden, bam! So now it's really more aggressive. It's not at the top of the aggression, but it's definitely like, it's loud, it's bright, it's big. But the beautiful thing about that, it enables me to play softer, because that's the game. The other thing I've learned with this, two things. So if you're running any of this stuff, this is a good thing to know. Don't plug any of these USB controllers into hubs. I'll just leave it at that. That was one of my other problems. And I have another one here that I make beats and do string arrangements and write songs with, so I'm facing Pro Tools. And I used to run them both on at the same time. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to do one at a time. And reason being, in the 2000s, we did a lot of hip hop, and, guys would show up with Tritons, and I'd have a controller, and this guy would have it, an MPC, and this other guy would have some sort of a drum machine, and then, somebody would bring a Phantom in, and all these things would be plugged in. Some of them would just be going in analog. Some would be, you would be seeing it. Pro Tools would be seeing it, and it was causing problems. So single unit, that's it. I remember years ago when I had a Machina, it was having problems when I had the controller up at Machina. It was like I had to shut everything else off for Machina to really not be a problem. And that's it. And I'm getting ready to go do a little road work. Your boy's going to be in a band. And I went to pick up, so I play a P bass. I do, this kind of classic rock tradition, or like a, what do you call it? Like a, I don't know what you call it, like a tribute to kind of like, Eagles Journey, all this kind of stuff. I need a backup, because I'm thinking, well, I don't want to get to this gig, need a backup, and I go grabbing that 5-string Ibanez, because if anybody plays bass, they know, like, when you go from 4-string to 5-string, it can be a little bit of an out-of-body experience. I don't want to be hitting the wrong string. So I looked at a bunch of them. I went to a couple stores, and I was ready to leave, and the guy, my buddy at Guitar Center, is like, hey, we have that 70s vibe Squire. He's like, that's the best cheap bass out there. Like that. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really thinking of jazz. Anyway, he pulls it down. I'm like, whoa, really nice. Really nice. So in this guy, I put in the Seymour Duncan quarter pounder in the P bass. So that's like God of Thunder. This guy, I brought it home and set it up so beautifully. I got the neck, I got the action just perfect. And it also comes stock with 45 to 105, which is nice. So when I throw roto sounds on it, there won't be much of anything different. And the pickup's really nice, but it's, being obviously it's a jazz, it's a little different trip. But if I roll back that bridge pickup and roll off a hair of tone, it's close enough. No, in a band, in a cover band, nobody'd even know the difference. And the stock pickups actually are surprisingly nice, but I ordered a set of quarter pounders. I did have at one point a jazz bass that had Fralins or Lawlers, and I put the quarter pounders in, and I like them better. That's just my taste. I just love the sound of the quarter pounders. It's kind of like a little bit low IQ sounding, which is what I like in bass. I don't want it to be all like yo diggity hi-fi boutique-y. I want it to just sound like. So, I've been learning all these Eagle tunes and Journey and Foreigner and like just all these amazing bass lines. So anyway, those are coming. And that's it. I a bunch of these records I'm working on. Everything's kind of coming through. So there's going to be a lot of cool videos going on. And this whole thing with figuring out what was going on with MIDI and the keyboards and the computers and what was up with Pro Tools is infinitely a good idea, because I don't want to get a new computer. This is the last Intel. This is an i9 iMac, 64 gigs of RAM. It's great. I got it right in the transition to the M chip, but Avid and Native Instruments warned me against getting that, because they're like, people have been having problems. We're not supporting it yet. It will be okay, but we can't guarantee it. And honestly, if you just want to install a computer and get rocking and everything's good, they're like, I'd get the i9. And honestly, for what I do, rock, and I'm not doing symphonies here, it's probably more than enough. So anyway, it did save me. If this is good, which it looks like it's good, it saved me from having to get a new computer, which with everything, the ripped out computer, I've got the HDX chassis, I've got the UA satellite. It would be $8,000. No matter how you slice it, it's going to be in the $8,000 area. And or the other option would have been to blow this computer out and do a fresh install, which that's a lot of work. I don't mind the work. It's not really my forte. I hate the thought of doing that. So, because, I've got 14 million things on here and everything's working. So now it seems like everything is great. We're happy. Bo's got to go to the vet right now, because we have to get him some shots, because he's overdue, and he's going to stay at the kennel tomorrow because it's Jake's birthday, and we're going to church, and then he wants to go get this fish thing, and then we're doing this, then we're meeting up with my wife after she gets off work, and we're going to the Japanese steakhouse. So he's not sitting here in the cage, you know what I mean? There you go. It's really a nice keyboard. And with the key touch, whatever it is, loud, I can play medium and it sounds great. Yeah. Yeah. Because when I'm digging in, especially I got singers like tenors that are, we're blasting away, I'm like, I start playing really hard. So I've got to be very careful. Man, these old 60-year-old hands, man, we put them through it. We put it through it. Yeah, buddy.